go. Getting a little bit of feedback there. Hiya, Glyph. How you doing, mate? I'm just playing around with some settings here on OBS and seeing what's going on. Trying a couple different things. Hey Anna, how you doing? So are we on a plane? Speaking of planes, yeah. We are on one. Yeah, I've seen that, Cliff. I try not to get involved in anything like that. That's not my cup of tea. I'm just exploring this plane we live on for my own purposes. Exposing some lies and things like that. Well, I'm using OBS because it's better format, I think. I tried Hangouts. I didn't like Hangouts. It didn't do the things I wanted it to do. But I couldn't play around with imagery like I'm playing around with right now. You know, I get to play different things on with OBS. See, because I could just throw anything in there at any time, so I'll transition this into here and see, as you can see, we got a nice train station there, a little bit of music. I can throw in whatever I want anytime. It's quite relaxing, so if I wanted to take a break, I can run in. So I've just been playing around, doing a few things like this. Here, how I can throw in a little bit of entertainment.
Check it out, check it out, check it out now. I don't know the fucking lyrics to this song. You have to be on. Turn me on. Yeah, baby. What you say? Just need your body there. From start till dawn.
And also, if I throw this like plane scene in here, I can take out the image. So once the image goes, then we can you know, I can just jump into the pilot seat and we can take off on this flat plane of ours and have a good time and exploring the world together. I'm gonna go fuel up. This is the pilot speaking to the captain, and Captain, I'm starting to think the Earth is flat. So if we go like that, and I'm talking to the captain from the plane, we'll see him come up here in a few moments. And we'll play a little bit on perspective, and I'll throw that image back in there. So yeah, you can just do kind of crazy things like this at any time. Or if we want to go into, I don't know, maybe a little Alan Watts.
We have an absolutely extraordinary attitude in our culture and in various other cultures, high civilizations, to the new member of human society. Instead of saying frankly to children, how do you do, welcome to the human race, we are playing a game. And we are playing by the following rules. We want to tell you what the rules are so that you'll know your way around, and when you've understood what rules we're playing by, when you get older you may be able to invent better ones.
I mean, he's always really good to listen to.
But instead of that, we still retain an attitude to the child that he is on probation. He's not really a human being. He's a candidate for humanity. And in just this way, we have a whole system of preparation of the child for life, which always is preparation and never actually gets there. We condition the child in a way that sets the child a life problem which is insoluble, and therefore attended by constant...
Then I can always come back to the console. And once again, there's my ugly mug. Yeah, it works well, I think. So that's why I started using OBS. And if you want to plug in a Hangout, you can always throw in a Hangout or anything you want. And you can see up to my the upper right of your screen there in that picture, those are my flat earth dogs. Well, learning curve is pretty good. I've actually played everything. I just jumped in it with both feet, and right from the start on my videos, that's when I first started using it, the very first live event that I did. So I've only been using it for about just over a week. So yeah, that's alright. And apparently, if I wanted to pop out the chat, I could just do some. Let's see if I can do this. We'll try something in right here. We'll pop out the chat. And then add that into here. Add that in. I'll talk as I do it. Throw that in there. Paste that into your properties. Yeah, and transition it over. That gives me that. Let's get rid of one of these. We're going to get rid of one of these slideshows. Let's get rid of the first one. Remove that. Yeah. That should disappear. And it does. Stick that in the back. And now we got the chat window in the screen too, I believe. There we go. Yeah, it seems to work. So you can do all kinds of things like that. So yeah, you just seen how it worked. You know, it's just a matter of laying over things on top of another things. Make yourself some PNG files, poke holes in them, and there you go. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it. And so you can pretty much have as many things running as you want, I think. So if I say I wanted to, let's see, I'll stick a video in somewhere. Okay, we'll stick that video in there.
There's a good sensation all this time. Motivation shot down from the blue sky. Oh, you know we both try, but oh, that kind of love just takes a while. Oh, she still wouldn't give me no time of day. All the things that we might say. Oh, I've been down, good sensation. I've been down, I've been wasted all my time of day. Oh, what's this she say? So I've been down and I've been wasted.
There we go. So you can just run things, put them in there, throw them in as we go. Like I said, I'm just doing this right now. This is learning.
That's good.
Just doing a live learning session. Yeah, watch these guys. They're pretty good, actually. I love when people just join in on the street and they start singing along. But, you know, I focus on this this flat Earth stuff, but I mean, it seems to be getting quite divided, and egos are clashing, and I can't deal with egos. Ego, it just doesn't make sense. It's okay to question everything and try to come up with some answers, but when we start fighting amongst ourselves, well, we lose. We lose if we start fighting amongst ourselves, and they win. Yeah, I'm from Canada, and I'm living in England, and I'm living in a place where they're masters of it. They're masters of divide and conquer, and that's exactly what's going on in our community right now. They're dividing us, and they're conquering us. So yeah, I'm just gonna try and see if I can stick something else in here. Yeah, let's look for this one. Oh. Yeah. So yeah, you can just, like I say, throw anything in there at any time, and it will just play it through. So that's what I like about this OBS thing. But then you always got to go looking through files, finding things. Yeah, so I'm trying to create points of chilling out. You know, just let's see if I can. Just trying to play around with some settings here. But I have too much stuff. I have too many things that there. Yeah, let's try that one. So we go here. Hey, Shoryugen, how you doing? Let's get rid of this one here. We'll remove that one. We'll remove that one. And we'll add this one in.
Why is it that we don't seem to be able to adjust ourselves to the physical environment without destroying it?
Send it across.
Why is it that in a way this culture represents in a unique fashion the law of diminishing returns? That our success is a failure? That we are building up, in other words, an enormous technological civilization which seems to promise the fulfillment of every wish almost at the touch of a button. And yet, as in so many fairy tales, when the wishes finally materialize, they're like fairy gold. They're not really material at all. In other words, so many of our products, our cars, our homes, our clothing, our food.
I'm trying to get things
as
a
if
little more delightful.
It were really the instant creation of pure thought. That is to say, is thoroughly insubstantial, lacking in what the connoisseur of wine calls body. And in so many other ways. the riches that we produce are
Just makes
ephemeral.
it easier
And
for
as a
me
result of
to
that, we're frustrated. We're terribly
put
frustrated.
things on
We feel that
and
the only thing is to go on getting more
get
and
more visuals. I like the
And
visuals.
as a result of that, the whole landscape begins to look like
Hey,
the
on a
nursery
plane.
of a
Take
spoiled
care,
child
buddy.
who's got too many toys and is bored with them and throws them away as fast as he gets them, plays them for a few minutes. Also, we're dedicated to a tremendous war on the basic material dimensions of time and space. We want to obliterate
Yeah,
their limitations.
they always help.
We want to get everything done as fast as possible. We want to convert the rhythms and the skills of work into cash, which indeed you can buy something with, but you can't eat it.
It's kind of like you can play several things
And
at once.
then rush home to get away from
And
work
still
and
talk.
begin the real business of life, to enjoy ourselves. You know, for the
We're
vast
also trying
majority of
different things.
American families, what seems to be the real point of life, what you rush home to get to, is to watch
I did this little thing on
an electronic
perspectives, and
reproduction of life.
I'll throw this in here.
You can't touch
I'll
it.
keep talking,
It doesn't
and
smell, and it has no taste.
we'll just look at the images, and
You might think that people getting home to the
it'll
real
give you some
point of
idea
life
what's
in
going
a
on, actually, I
robust
think,
material
anyway.
culture would go home to a colossal...
and I'll change the perspectives as we go, and there we go. We'll just change the perspectives as we go. Put them on the focal points, and you'll start to notice something. Well, don't go dying on us, mate. That's not good. At least I started to notice a few things. What I notice is doing these perspectives, and you look at the horizontal line on the back. And when you're looking at items, you can see that it would not work on a ball. Look how the clouds in that one, how they follow straight down. I'll focus on the sun over here on this one. Everything's running straight lines. Everything is running in straight lines. So then I decided to grab another one, and I threw this little bit in here, where we put in the size changes. And even at high altitude, look at the lines here. And now this is a shot that I have on my screen, and this is apparently a shot from space. Doesn't work. So then we can just
Why is it that we don't seem to be able to adjust ourselves to the physical environment without destroying it?
screen, and
Why is it that in a way this culture represents in a unique fashion the law of diminishing returns? That our success is a failure, that we are building up, in other words, an enormous technological civilization which seems to promise the fulfillment of every wish almost at the touch of a button. And yet, as in so many fairy tales, when the wishes finally materialize, they're like fairy gold. They're not really material at all. In other words, so many of our products, our cars...
Just remove a few things out of there. And it comes back. Then maybe we can throw something else in. So yeah, you can just play around with this and just have fun with it. Absolutely. Let's check this one out. Understanding of the Nephilim. Hey, Millennium, how you doing? It is a lovely day.
With us on this Friday, May 2nd, 2014 edition of the Hagman Report, our special guest, W, the Intelligence Insider. If you're wondering what any of this has to do with intelligence or how it connects the dots, just hang with us.
Yeah, Glyph, it is pretty straightforward.
You'll be absolutely astounded
The,
to hear how this is all tied together. Please listen to this carefully because this is going to set the tone, I believe, for tonight. And the quote is this: in order to properly understand the big picture, everyone should fear becoming
once you get the screens up, you got the screen on the left, which is where you do your layouts and everything, and then once you got your layout set, or your scene, then you can transition that scene over, and you can make as many scenes as you want, and transition between them.
I'm not going to get into everything that you've done, obviously, but suffice it to say that you're the real James Bond in my book, and someone of a man of integrity, character, and a guy that that I would trust my life with. So we're going to just turn it over to you and just take us where you want to take us.
So are you at work now, Millennium, or are you off now?
History,
I guess you must be off
physics,
now.
Try to get in the mind where some of the folks are coming from, how they got there, that are running the planet right now, and why they think what they do, where it makes sense, where there's actually some pretty good logic.
And I'm really bad with names, and I keep calling you Millennium, but you must have a name.
Detail. We have a lot of Christians. Your show is aimed at Christians, and so my presentation is really aimed at them tonight in a large measure. For non-believers, agnostics, you might get a very good clue of why even your beliefs are maybe well-founded in some ways. So I'm not just talking to Christians, but what I'm concerned about is a lot of times we hear trigger words. For example, let's just use Richard Hoagland.
Stick something in here.
Some people who were upset by some of what he said or heard key trigger words like astrology. And they're like, oh, that's evil. And they're instantly...
Okay, Dan.
He's from the devil.
Cheers. That makes it a lot easier.
Anything I want to hear about.
No, I just have to remember that.
Take a deep breath and try to understand, even if you disagree, what underlying principle, information he might have been trying to convey there, and then how it feeds into and is relevant to us. Because remember, it's not what you believe.
Let's go in
it's
here.
what they
Have a
believe
look.
who are running the planet.
Let's throw something else in.
It is really affecting how we live, because at this exact moment, the people that have the
A little bit of death and destruction always goes a long ways.
Group, and so we're trying to understand what's driving them, what's directing them, what are the principles principles? What are the ideas that cause them to think, function, do what they do? And what is the mindset or even the mind behind them that has gotten them and us here today, right now, where we are,
Get
with
rid of that
all
image.
these events churning around us in the world, and these burning questions arising and propelling us ahead, seemingly to this new world order.
I did not
Just
want to do
ahead,
that.
just around the corner. What's the driver? What do they believe? What's driving them?
Now, how am I going to fix that?
We're going to take a lot of wild twists and turns. And
Made a
I
live
hope I can
mistake.
pull it all together and make it make sense.
Let's
When the
rock and
pharaohs-
roll. Buckle up.
All right. When the pharaohs were entombed, when they passed
Interesting,
away, and
interesting.
the wealthy people of Egypt,
Very
we
interesting.
now know, we go back and we look at these sarcophagus,
Made a big faux pas.
and the burial chambers, etc. We know that the whole death process was a very elaborate process. They went to extreme measures to mummify these individuals of prominence, these people that they felt were godlike or in fact gods. We look at it
Let me
now
do
with
something.
a modern mind and we think, well, they're just nuts.
If I
crazy.
transition that over,
If we were gods, I mean, you know, how on the height of arrogance. We have to think about it a little bit more. What were they really trying to do when they preserved their bodies this way?
well,
And not just
well,
themselves,
Millennium,
but then
there's
they
a
had
lot new on the
elaborate
flat Earth, and
systems
it
where
seems like everyone's
they buried sailboats,
getting divided,
complete
and a lot of
sailboats,
arguing,
all
a lot of
dismantled,
fighting,
carefully
a lot of
packed away
disruption
and
going on.
stored underground for them,
But,
and we've gone back and discovered
That
these
seems about normal.
items. Oftentimes they were buried with their wives and servants, and they were also preserved with the understanding, with the belief that one day they were going to be resurrected and would live again.
But
physically. And we
I'm
look
not going
at
to get
it and
involved
we
in
think
any of that.
with our modern mind
Everyone has their own
that, a little
opinions,
touched. They
decisions,
didn't
choices,
understand the nature
things
of
that
the
they
world.
make, don't they?
As Christians, they didn't
Um,
understand
I'm just a
salvation
guy.
quite had
I'm just
arrived
one
yet.
guy.
They believed in, voodoo. But then there's
I'm
another
just a guy who
thing. Let's
doesn't
walk
think
away
we
from
live on
that
a
for
ball.
moment and go somewhere else.
That's about
The
it. That's the
Smithsonian
extent of my knowledge on it.
received the bones of giants. And there have been numerous accounts over the last century and a half of people, individuals, groups who turned over these bones and artifacts from
And
burial
if I was to
chambers
say to somebody, the
and
Earth is
burial
flat,
sites
just believe me, that'd
that were
be
from
as bad as anybody else.
giants.
I mean,
Smithsonian, you go back and you ask them, hey, what
don't just
happened to those
believe me.
bones?
Go and always look for yourself.
Yeah, they're gone. They're
Always
history.
find out things
No,
for
yeah,
yourself.
That's what you're talking about. Who
Play.
are you? Well, no, we know you got them. You don't know nothing. Places all over the world. There's been this allegation out there for some time that some hidden hand group has been systematically gathering up
Yeah,
all
I
of
saw
these
his
old
video.
bones.
He was
Why?
very
Why not
pissed
admit
off,
it?
and
But let's step aside
I can
from
understand
that
because
and let's
he's
look at another
kind of like me.
situation.
I think
What
we
is
kind of would rather
conscious?
stay in the background
Where
and
are you?
quietly
Think about
work.
it right
And
now. We hear near-death
when you see
experiences
people getting
all the
divided,
time who have passed
it
over
pisses you off.
out of their body, and they give very credible explanations of how they rose out of their body, had a physical form. They saw things in an operating room, for example, that you could not have seen from where they were lying physically in their body. Conversations, words
The lad
that
works
happened
hard.
in a hallway just outside
He works
the
very
door,
hard at what he
but
does,
you had to be there to hear
and
it.
he's good at what he
People
does.
say that they heard this word or that conversation or saw this person dressed a certain way, and they were in the operating room on the table. And very difficult to deny that they had had an experience that wasn't just an experience inside of the tissue of their gray matter, their brain, that they had somehow been
Whereas me, I'm
transported or allowed to move
I'm
about outside of their physical
too easy
corpse.
going.
So then we
Too
ask
easy going.
ourselves,
It's
where are we? Where's our consciousness? Are you
it doesn't
right
help to be
now
angry. It doesn't help to
actually
get pissed off.
in
It doesn't
your
help
physical
to
body? Or is it possible, is it
call
conceivable
people
that your
names
conscious
or
is
anything like
somewhere
that,
maybe within the
because
parameters of
then
your
we just
physical
start
body
arguing
and
amongst
more,
ourselves.
but not technically really inside your physical body. I have remote control devices, including one of our aircraft that we're working on that's remote control. It is capable of traveling very fast, very far, and yet some of its operations are pre-programmed, and it operates autonomously on its own.
I found my image.
Within its own computer program
I can
inside
put this back now.
its computers. But then there's other overriding information that comes remotely that is broadcast to the aircraft, and it gives information, and there's more broadcast to it. And so the real mind behind the operation of that aircraft could be at a great distance from the aircraft. Technically, it could be to the moon or to outer planets. Distance.
No, I don't blame people for blowing up either. I
The
really
real
don't.
mind isn't in the aircraft.
We all reach certain
although
points
it's
where we,
physically expressing itself through that aircraft.
yeah,
So
you have to
where's-
let loose.
Where's that consciousness? The world around us. And we say, no, the body, the consciousness, the physical, we're right here. I'm right here. But let's diverge again for just a moment. Years ago, before cloning was actually really known outside of a very tiny realm of people, there was a particular location where we were examining cloning issues. There was a dog that had been a pet, and that dog had been well known and would greet aircraft as they arrived. And
Yeah, I hope he,
and the crews knew him.
I hope he doesn't give up on
And,
everything that he's
he
doing
was,
just because he's so
well
pissed at
liked.
people because
Had a very unique
it
personality.
wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be good. I mean, because that means they actually
he was buried in
they
this,
win then, don't
very
they?
arid semi-desert environment. So years later, at a certain point, somebody had the idea that it'd be interesting to see if we could clone. So he was exhumed and DNA was extracted.
That means one more man
from
down, and
different areas
it's a good
of
man
the
down.
corpse, in bone areas and in teeth areas, because those areas hold DNA.
Well, sure, you can. I'm
preserve
not
it
exactly
longer
sure
than
exactly what
those
happened,
areas.
but
And there was some other samples
something to
taken
do with,
that,
of course,
those were really key.
what is
And then the
somebody
animal
I heard
clone.
about, Tim Osborne.
And in one of the clones that was done, that there was health issues with some of them early on.
Hey, Dave, how you doing?
Time
Welcome,
to
welcome,
get
mate.
things right.
Thanks for stopping
And
in.
one of them was done, it was noticed that the dog operated mannerism-wise, and even to some
People
tricks
listening.
that
Oh
it
my
did,
God, is there
heavily
actually people
matured,
listening?
as though it already knew these tricks that were really unique to its ancestor. And the question was, did that animal have that information?
Yeah, well,
in its
it's just a
DNA?
general chat. I'm just
Was
practicing,
that
Dave. I'm
knowledge
getting
of
used
how
to,
do the tricks, something
this
that
stuff.
was recorded somehow in the DNA.
More playing right
Had
now.
the DNA been overwritten during the course of the dog's life to be able to know a trick, and it somehow is recorded there like information, like writing a movie onto a DVD.
You know,
or
I'm
something,
making a
recording
fool of
it on a
myself in
DVD, and it's
more
somehow
ways than
been
one, I'm
recorded
sure.
on the
So,
DNA.
hey,
Conversely, the question
I may as well do it to a
was
small
there
audience
something
right
in
now.
the DNA that predisposed the dog to want to behave or operate or do things really just like the other dog, even to the paths it wanted to go down and this daily routine that the ancestor
Here, I can turn that
had.
up for you, Dave.
None of those seem to make
The
sense.
guy's talking about ancient,
because
the
behaviors that we
Nephilim.
were
He's
looking
talking about
at,
the
that we're
Nephilim.
talking about, are learned behaviors. They did not seem to be things that you would have had within its DNA, how the animal was built at a structural level. This was more information
It's just a
related,
video I put on.
things that would have been recorded
Lots
in
of times I like to put in
that would have been recorded
funner stuff.
in ways that, it's like the difference
So if we
between
got rid of that.
with the old reel-to-reel tapes, you have the tape itself that can hold information, but then you have to write information on it.
Yeah,
And
let's
when you
put in,
play it back, you get the information you wrote on it. You don't get new tape suddenly coming out of the tape machine because you're not manufacturing tape. You're
I'll
just
transition this over
downloading
in a
the
minute.
information that was recorded on it, writing it on, taping it off. Question was, how could this dog have known these tricks? How could it want to follow these same paths when it hadn't been taught this stuff. It had not been shown it, really, to that
Here,
point.
let's put on a...
But because of some health issues that were raised, the dog had started to get sick. And
Let's put on
this
an
was
Alan
early
Watts
on,
lecture.
and people really, they're monitoring it very closely. These are scientists having some fun.
In ancient times, all kings had at their courts a court fool. And sometimes it probably was true
See, it
that
takes me
the
a
fool
second.
was a crazy person who had a peculiar capacity for making inappropriate remarks. And there's something about inappropriate remarks that can be very funny. I remember as a child we used to play a game in which we had first of all a booklet with a story in it, but every now and then a word was left blank.
No problem,
and then,
Ben.
you were
On my
given
way.
a pile of cards that were shuffled around the players.
See you in about
and in
20
turn,
minutes, mate.
as the story was read by one person, the players turned up whatever card they had and said the word. And the most
I'll send
extraordinary
that across
things
there.
happened.
Haha,
And
see, I
in this
forgot.
way, of course, the person
Live-
who could make
live error.
inappropriate remarks at the right moment can sometimes bring the house down. But actually, as time went on, the function of the fool became more sophisticated than that.
Yeah, I'm tired of
And he became a
the
person
working BS altogether.
whose function was
Tired
not
of working for
simply
the man.
to make jokes and to be a funny man,
Well,
but
that's
to
not
remind
true. I've always worked for
the
myself,
monarch
so
of his humanity,
that helps.
so that he would never get too stuffy. You remember perhaps the lines in Richard II, where the king says, within the crown, within the
Still have to pay the
hollow
man.
crown that rounds the mortal temples of a king, keeps death his watch. And there the antic sits, the antic being the court fool. And there the antic sits, scoffing at his state and grinning at his pomp, allowing him a little time to monarchize, be feared and kill with looks. And then at the last comes death, and with a little pin bores through his castle wall, and farewell, king. See, that was in a way the function of the fool. He
Just
was
gotta answer a message here.
reminding you of your finitude, of your mortality, and death at the end, in somewhat the same way as monks used to keep on the desk
I don't have
in
any
their
NASA
cells
news
a grinning
myself,
skull.
Millennium, but I do have some news
And
on the
all this is, of course, nowadays thought very morbid.
Falcon 9
because
SpaceX
today
rocket, which was
we repress
fake.
death,
It was fake.
very, very strongly.
That's my news. It was fake.
And the whole function and role of the mortician in our culture is to pretend in some way that death doesn't happen. He's a husher-upper. He sweeps you under the carpet at considerable expense. Now then, I try to think whether there is any institution in modern society that really corresponds to the court fool. And there isn't. There is, of course, the political cartoonist.
The man
There
is a
is the
big
satirist.
fucking shithead.
There is the
Did you hear that? If the
commentator.
man is listening
But
out there,
he doesn't sit
in this room right
in the
now, we've just
president's
decided
office.
you're a big fucking shithead.
and the president can ignore him altogether if he so chooses.
I don't mind calling you that, man.
We don't like nowadays anyone to suggest that our social institutions are not altogether serious.
I'd like to know who the man is. Who is the man?
We can't stand it because we're much too insecure. And this is a very dangerous state of affairs. And so it really is high time that in many ways the institution of the fool was reintroduced. I want to point out a parallel to this. In some ways, the fool, or the joker, and the monk have a parallel function. The monk is a person who abandons society, he is an outlaw. Only he's an outlaw on the upper side
The
instead
Joker
of on the
and the
lower
monk
side.
have a parallel function.
As the ordinary criminal is, as it were, below
And
caste,
I put
the outlaw, in the sense of the monk, is above caste. And in the Buddhist religion, at its inception, the followers of the Buddha wore those dark yellow robes because those were the garments of criminals. It's just as if today we were to take the kind of blue jeans they wear over in San Quentin and go around in those. Or the old-fashioned striped things that put on
the man's a fucking tranny.
jailbirds.
Tranny, I tell ya.
And so they took
I
on
think he is too.
the garments
Or
and external
at least the
appearance
sex change
of
anyway.
the lower outcast. But they were in fact respected as upper outcasts.
Yeah, yeah.
But in modern society, it is very, very difficult to be in that position. For example, in such a true republic as France, every monk and priest is subject to military service. That is not true in the United States, nor is it true in England. They are not quite so republican as the French. But in this kind of modern
Dave,
society, more and more,
I see you. I mean, Dan.
must
I see you
belong.
everywhere, Dan. And
As Thoreau said,
I see you
wherever you may go,
helping everybody
men will
out
seek
here and
you
there.
out and compel you
And,
to belong to their
I mean,
desperate
do you do any
company
stuff
of
yourself,
oddfellows.
Millennium?
And the monks that exist today, Catholic monks and Anglican monks, are really a little bit of a freak in our society. They don't. They represent, in other words, the opinions and the discipline of a particular sect.
I even subscribe to you.
They are not
Oh my
really.
God.
They have no actual
Better check.
official and social recognition. Because you see, our society cannot
I'm
stand
pretty sure I am.
non-participation. It cannot
If I'm
stand
not, I am going to be
really
so
fundamental
mad.
criticism.
Yeah, of course I'm subscribed to you. I thought so.
And so it's in a very, very weak state. I remember as a boy in London going often to Hyde Park Corner and listening to people orate against anything they wanted to orate against. They could
Anyone who's got a wrench in my room, I better be
criticize
subscribed
and
to them.
vilify even the most sacred institutions. And the police would stand by and pay no attention, sort of lean against the lamppost and let it all go on.
See, I'm going to...
And that's because the people
this
as a
image.
whole in those days
This
had a
image on top
tremendous
of there
sense of
now.
security. They knew they were right, and therefore there was no point stopping
Send
anybody
that
from
through.
criticizing them. But when you're not
Send it
sure
through
you're
like that.
right, you have to
Hope this doesn't start again.
stifle criticism completely.
Probably will.
And the worst kind of
Soon
criticism
see.
is the person who pokes fun. Non-participation of
Hey,
the,
what
of
do
the
you know?
monk isn't so bad. But
And
the
I did
person
it.
who somehow
Just learned
suggests
something new while we're
that
sitting here. That's
society
good.
occasionally is something that needs to be giggled at.
As long as I stay within
not,
the...
you see, this is the whole position.
screen,
The Joker doesn't
doesn't
outrightly
change.
deride things. He's not a slapstick comedian. He gives people the giggles about things that they
42.
thought
Well,
were
hey.
terribly
No, I
sacred.
am subscribed to you, mate.
And that is extremely demoralizing. So, in our day and age, you see, you must belong. And we
42,
need
isn't that
to
the
relax
like
on this
the most important number?
and allow for non-participation under certain conditions, and these are the ancient conditions. That the person who does not participate in society
You too, Dave.
cannot call upon society
You take care, mate.
for certain
You have a
things.
good day.
He cannot call upon the protection of the police or of the army.
Always good to see you, Dave.
He cannot call upon education for his children. He's not supposed to have any children. He may, I suppose, in this day and age, make what arrangements he chooses about his love life. But he mustn't be the head of a family, and he mustn't feel entitled to the protection and support of the community. If the community respects him and wants to support him just out of its own free will, then that's their affair.
It's
So
a
that's
crazy
the way of the monk.
flat Earth world we live in. I'm not even sure I even like the term flat Earth because I just think I'd rather say non-globular world we live in.
have to go
We don't
into a number
spin.
of
I mean, that's
preliminary
pretty
things.
simple to figure out that we're not
Most
sitting here
important of which
spinning
is
at
to
1,000 miles an
understand
hour.
the nature of a social institution. Because you see, the standpoint of the fool is that
Here, I'll put
all
the
social
SpaceX rocket in
institutions
there
are
somewhere,
games.
just for fun.
Verify, go for launch. Go for launch.
He sees
Stage
the
2,
whole
pressing for flight.
world as game playing. And that's why
There we go.
when people take their games seriously and put on
Take the sound off.
stern and pious expressions,
Put the image up.
the fool gets the giggles. Because he knows it's all a game.
There we go.
Now, when I say that he sees everything as a game, this does not mean mere game.
Yeah, Thunderbirds,
Hamlet,
exactly.
although it's a play,
I mean, this is so
is not mere
fucking
entertainment.
fake. It's incredible.
Or when you
And
go
it's
to
incredible
listen
that
to
people
a
actually
great
believe this
orchestra, it is playing music indeed.
I mean,
But you are
come
not
on.
seeing something purely frivolous. The idea of game basically is this, that the nature of the world is
Here,
musical.
let me add something in here. Let me add a blank.
That is to say, it is doing
Let
all
me add a
these
blank. We'll go
forms
full screen on this
of trees
rocket.
and
We'll have a
stars
look.
and people and all their complexities, just to do them. It has no purpose beyond doing it. And in exactly the same way, in music, music has no destination. It isn't aimed at the future.
Verify, go for launch. Go for launch. Stage 2, pressing for flight.
There, we'll send that through. And,
T-minus 30.
there, I just had to watch this whole thing. Watch
T-minus
the
20.
full screen.
Stage 1, pressing for flight.
Turn that down a touch. T-minus 30, fuck off. You fucking twats.
T-minus 10, 9,
Space fucking twats.
6, 5, 4, 3,
Took me a while to learn that word, twat.
0.
Apparently I still say it wrong. Yeah, I think you're right. The revolution was shifty, and so many things. I'm questioning everything. Everything. Yeah, JFK. Well, you know. You know what people forget about one of the biggest fake things that was out, and this is well before YouTube was even fairly established and stuff. You know, it's stuff like the Columbine shootings. I mean, completely fake ass, but we didn't have the ability to talk about it like we do now. Yeah, here we go. What I like about this is when you're watching it, and let's see if I can shrink that down just a touch. Bring in the other alt. There we go. Bowling for Columbine. Absolutely. Now
And
then,
Falcon
if
9
you keep an
is
eye on the
delivering the National Reconnaissance
altitude,
Office's
watch this
satellite
sucker.
to
It's
orbit
going
right
to go
now.
almost. It's
We
going
just
almost
transitioned through
horizontal
max
now.
Q,
Getting there, almost horizontal, and
and
watch
we've begun
the
chilling in the
altitude
MVAC engine on our second
exponentially
stage.
go up.
Trajectory is looking good so far.
I mean, there's a point here when
Coming up
the
in
actual
about
rocket
20
goes
seconds,
nose
we'll have
down.
main engine cutoff, MECO 1. That's where all 9 Merlin engines of that first stage will shut down, and we'll see stage separation.
Look at that. It's
Stage separation will be actuated by 4 pneumatic actuators on the first stage.
yeah, the altitude still climbing, screaming. And then when they show
And we have
separation,
main
look how
engine
they
cutoff.
change camera shots.
And
How it's
stage
changed.
separation
The
has been
sky's
confirmed.
different. It's dark.
And
Everything
you can see
changes.
the first stage there flipping back. Use the nitrogen thrusters. And
The angle of the rocket's changed. Everything's changed.
the boost back burn of that first stage.
Yeah. And you can see how they put the
Boost back
curvature
burn
of
will
the
last
Earth
about
nice
another
and neatly
15
in there,
seconds.
just to catch it.
We use this to
Funny you can
reorient the
catch
stage
over
back
that
to
short of
Cape
distance, that
Canaveral.
much curvature,
And
but
fly
when you
it
use
back
a
from
wide
our
angle
forward
shot
velocity
on a
pad
camera, you can't
over
catch
the
any
Atlantic Ocean.
curvature. So, once again,
We also had a successful fairing separation of the second stage. As we mentioned previously, we will not be covering the remainder of the primary mission due to the nature of the
and then
classified
on
payload on
this,
board.
on the camera on
We
the
are
right here,
covering our first
they
stage
deploy
as it's making
the
a landing attempt back at landing zone 1.
ailerons
That's what you're
or
seeing on
the
the screen right now.
guides
On the right side is an onboard
that
camera.
pop out, but
looking
on the
down
left
from our
camera,
interstage.
guess what? They're not there.
That stage itself is 12 feet in diameter, and over 100 feet tall, so you're looking down the length of that stage, and those grid fins also deployed, those grid fins guiding us back through Earth's atmosphere. On the left side
You'll
of the
see
screen,
when
you're
they do
seeing
close-ups
our
that
assets on
they are
ground
not deployed.
tracking that
There are no
rocket.
ailerons
The first
deployed,
stage that's making its way back.
and they're completely two different shots. And also, we look at the clouds. Look at it's a clear day. There's the Mickey Mouse ears.
Now that boost back
Right
burn
on.
was a 3-engine
That's
burn.
absolutely
Coming up,
correct.
we're going to have our entry burn, also a
It's,
3-engine burn.
Very, very,
Entry burn
very
will happen
bad.
just after the 7-minute mark.
It's all Disney fantasy. Yeah, we're watching. This is all, this was live. This is what they
The first
presented to
stage
the
has
human
passed its
beings, the
apogee.
human race.
It's over
And
130
they said this was
kilometers
real.
above the surface of the Earth.
Love how
Those
they
white
put the little
puffs you're
flash in
seeing
there. Look
are
at that
those,
little flash, the nitrogen
thrusters on
flashes.
board.
Bad
Also
as in
used for
horrible.
controlling the vehicle and a guided descent back to landing zone 1.
Bad as in bad. These guys are really messing up. Look, clear blue skies down there. There's no land. There's no land down there. Yeah. Where's the land that it's going to go land on? I mean,
Entry burn should be coming up in about a minute from now. You'll see 3 engines ignite at the base of the rocket.
they say it's going to go
We use
land
that
on
to
land.
slow down all of the vertical
but,
velocity as
I'm
the
not
rocket is now
seeing it.
falling back to the Earth's surface and accelerating.
And then you're going to watch on the right the flames, and you can just about see through them. And then you're going to look at the flames on the rocket on the left, and it's going to be, you're not going to see nothing coming through those flames. But this camera here on the right says you can see right through all that flame.
just tuning in, we're watching the first stage as it's falling back to Earth in a guided descent back to landing zone 1.
Yeah,
We
it's
have an entry burn
pretty
coming up
bogus. Pretty bogus.
in about
Way
15
fake X.
seconds.
Way go, way go.
Engine entry burn.
Falling. Does it look like it's falling? Is that like
And we've entered the entry burn
falling
startup.
free fall? There we go.
have
Look, we got
ignition
burn
of
on
the
the
afterburn.
left, burn on the right. Obviously a delay. You know. Now look at that flame. Is that bogus or what?
This is a 25-second burn.
Is that bogus or what? And people actually believe this shit. That's the amazing thing to me. That's what's amazing to me. Is
And we
people
have
actually
shutdown
believe this shit.
for the first stage.
Oh, there's that land they're going down on.
In about 45 seconds, we'll have our landing burn begin. That landing burn will last for about 30 seconds. And then we'll have touchdown of the vehicle. That landing burn is going to take us from going about 1,000 kilometers an hour right down to 0 on the surface of Earth.
And look at that, the camera on the left, a nice
Landing legs will
clear
deploy
blue
about
sky.
10 seconds before landing.
Clear blue sky. Oh, and what do we see? We do not see any ailerons deployed on that. Look at the one on the left. And see the one on the right? Nothing is deployed.
Stage 1 just passed through transonic regime.
There's nothing deployed on the one on the left.
And landing burn has hit startup, and we have ignition.
But also you'll see that it's all black. Look how black it is. There's nothing deployed on it. Cool. Cool, Millennium.
Landing legs deploy in a few seconds.
Clear blue sky, but look at the clouds. Look at that storm in the back. Now watch after it lands.
And we have
Right after it
touchdown.
lands. Look at that.
First
The
stage
weather
has landed back
changes.
at landing
it's-
zone 1.
Everything's
Another good day
different.
for
The
us
clouds
at
are
SpaceX.
different.
Beautiful sight to see. That is the 4th landing of a Falcon 9 at landing
Yeah,
zone
you guys are
1.
making me jealous. So I decided I'm gonna roll a joint too.
And with that landing, that's
exactly
going
what I'm gonna
conclude
do.
our coverage for today's
And,
webcast. It is a beautiful sight, certainly, to bring back another first stage. We will be putting that rocket through some inspections and then getting it ready for
while I'm
another
rolling
launch
this
for a
joint,
future
let's,
mission
let's,
coming up in our very busy manifest for the remainder of the year. So with
Here,
that,
we'll
we'd
put
like
on
to thank
something
the
while I
National
roll a joint.
Reconnaissance
You
Office.
can watch this.
The rain.
Here we go.
You'll like this.
Check it out, check it out, check it out now. I don't know the fucking lyrics to this song.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, baby.
Should I throw my ugly mug in there? Yeah, may as well throw my ugly face in. There we go. May as well take a train ride with them. Have a few tunes while we chill out, relax, and smoke a big one. Throw a little hash in there. Oh yeah. This is like a flat earth chill out section. Join in. Yeah. Well, my flat earth dog is sitting at the top of the stairs. He's crying right now, whinging to get in here. Yeah, I'm a fan of people just getting together and doing things. Just jumping right in there. Let yourself go. Let yourself go. Don't be afraid. Here, I'll throw on another one in a minute.
Comes in, there's a party down the street, no joint to jump into a funky beat. You just struck up enough notes in your mind, except getting on down and having a good time. You leave your girl for a better one, take her out in the car for a bit of fun. When you had enough and you don't know more, you march back through that open door, y'all. Yeah, baby, give it up for my man over here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I might end up having the same Tom career again. There we go. Just rock that one out. Now, this fella here, this is what happens when you tell people you're a flat earther. That's what I figure.
That's good.
You lose your job, you lose your home, you lose your family. But hey, that's alright, isn't it? Let's add my ugly face in here again. Yeah, I don't know what you can do.
I just don't know, no. Said I just don't know, don't know. I just don't know, yeah, don't know. Said I just don't know, no, no, no. Say what?
Bring it in.
Just go looking through here. See if there's anything we want to throw on. Yeah, let's see if I can keep it rocks. Froze up. Well, sure, Eugen, you bring him into the rooms and stuff. Bring him around anytime you like, mate. Bring all your flat earth friends. have to bring your globalings. You don't have to convince us flat earthers that it's flat. We already know. Go back on the console here.
In ancient times, all kings had at their courts a court fool. And sometimes it probably was true that the fool was a crazy person who had a peculiar capacity for making inappropriate remarks.
Change things here a bit.
And there's something about inappropriate remarks that can be very funny. I remember as a child we used to play a game in which we had first of all a booklet with a story in it, but every now and then a word was left blank. And then you were given a pile of cards that were shuffled around the players, and in turn, as the story was read by one person, the players turned up whatever card they had and said the word. And the most extraordinary things happened. And in this way, of course, the person who could make inappropriate remarks at the right moment can sometimes bring the house down. But actually, as time went on, the function of the fool became more sophisticated than that. And he became a person whose function was not simply
let's bring the house down.
To make jokes.
Good idea.
And to
actually,
be
I found a really funny
but to remind the monarch of his humanity, so that he would never, never get too stuffy. You remember perhaps the lines in Richard II,
looking for it,
where the king says, within the crown, within the hollow crown that rounds the mortal temples of the king, keeps death his watch.
Yeah, let's throw this.
And there the antic sits, the antic being the court fool. And there the antic sits, scoffing at his state and grinning at his pomp, allowing him a little time to monarchize, be feared and kill with looks. And then at the last comes death, and with a little pin bores through his castle wall, and farewell, king.
There, we'll transition that through. Yeah.
See, that was in a way the function of the fool.
You know what's really weird, sure, Eugen, in Millennium? Guess, I was walking through Claytonville yesterday, had the dogs out, came across a person, started talking to him, and he was a flat earther. I ran into a random flat earther. So I gave him my channel, gave him my name, my number, and he'll be getting in touch. A random flat earther. I mean, that is amazing. I never thought it would happen, but it did. They are out there. They are out there. I can tell you. I can tell you from fact that they are out there. Yeah, you guys might have fell over flat then. Hey? You just never know. You could be flat drunk. Can't you? So there's the globe being kicked, launched into space, and taking out children. Look at that. Isn't that horrible? I'm originally from a place called Kamloops, BC, British Columbia. Yeah, I call myself a man Canadian now. Kamloops. Close. Spelled with a K. It's a native word for meeting place of three rivers, and it's about 5 hours out of Vancouver, BC. And then I moved to a really bustling city when I decided to build my own house, and I moved to this place called Bridge Lake, BC. Population 19. 19, all 19 of us. I could invite the whole town for tea, no problem. Talk about having to get along with your neighbors. Yeah, Vancouver is a lovely city. I bet you liked it. I bet you liked it. I haven't met anybody who doesn't like Vancouver. It's a pretty place. Yeah, it makes me want to smoke all the time too. Yeah. No, we've reshaped it to a marijuana leaf, so that's okay now. It's the new Canadian flag. They're going to change the color to green and put a green leaf in the middle. It's deserving of it. I think it should be the Canada's national flower, and I think we should start a new program and get that in motion. Yeah, cannabis. Cannabis Canada. We are a cannabis-friendly nation. I think it is going to be all legal all across Canada soon. I think, yeah, this year, isn't it? Next year? Next year, I think. Yeah, I don't see it happening in the UK. yeah, Colorado's doing well by it. Okay, guys, well, because I'm not allowed to smoke in the house, I'm going to have to sneak off for a bit. Going to have to shut down, and I will speak to you soon. Millennium, like I say, let's see, how do we get together here? Like to go out and have a smoke with you, mate? Chill out. Shoot the breeze, talk some bullshit, and maybe it's so much easier to talk in person sometimes. I'm gonna grab the dogs here shortly and head off into the Clayton Vale and go for a walk. So we'll see you in a bit. Yeah, sure, you can. We'll definitely do that. Yeah, I'm heading to Canada. I think at the end of June, beginning of July, somewhere in there. You know, first 2 weeks of July. I don't really want to go, but it's just the man doesn't like me. The man doesn't like Canadians. I'm telling you. I've had nothing but immigration nightmares here, mate. I've been here 14 years. Yeah, so it's I'm tired of spending money and giving money to the man to keep getting rejected. To keep rejecting me because I'm white, and I don't get it. I don't get it. Wrong color. Oh, did I just say that live? I did. I did. But you would have to be in my position to understand why I just said that. Okay, everybody, take care, and yeah, I'll come back in a little bit later and sign back on, and we'll converse some more. Yeah, it is true. Actually, it's true, Millennium. It's I've never wanted to say that, but it's true. Take care, guys. Be good, people.